Here.
Commissioner Laparne,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner O'Neill, Commissioner Reisinger,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
and Chair Zimmerman, Vice Chair Zimmerman. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Thanks everybody for attending. We're going to start here at item 2, presentations. 2A, Arizona State University Project Cities Project. ASU, oh, sorry, I skipped. We're going to go back to 1. It's the approval of the minutes. This is approval of minutes from February 25th, 2025. Everybody should have had a chance to read through those from our last meeting.
Move to approve.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. All right, now on to presentations. 2A, Arizona State University Project Cities Project. ASU and tourism staff will provide an update on the Art and Public Places projects. This is informational.
Chair Gish, the class has been working on their presentation. They've gone through a lot of the data from the community that they've accumulated from the open house and the surveys. So I am going to turn it over to Allison and the students working on the project to give their presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us today. I'll turn it over to the students in just a second, but I'm Allison Allman. I am the program manager with the Project Cities program here at ASU. And so we have 3 of our graduate students from the Masters of Urban and Environmental Planning program here at the university that have been working with Josh and Bennett in the Tourism Economic Development Office on developing a playbook for community art. And so I will hand it over to the students.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nasser, and with me here is Nick. And on the other side, there's Sadia. We are excited to welcome you to our presentation about developing a playbook for the community art in public places in the city of Kingman. This project is a culmination of our Masters of Urban and Environmental Planning capstone at Arizona State University. It was developed in partnership with the project cities and the city of Kingman. Also, this project reflects many weeks of research, community engagement, and analysis. Today, we will walk you through the process we followed and the key insights we gathered and our final recommendations. It will help support and grow a vibrant public arts program in the city of Kingman.
Hi, everybody. So in our process of making this playbook for the city of Kingman, we went through 2 kinds of different methodologies. One was engaging the public or the residents or people who visit Kingman to know what they wanted. And in the second part, we did look at some cities across the US that have a very established public arts program to see what kind of strategies they use to support their arts program. So for the public engagement process, we had a survey rolled out in the city of Kingman, and then we did a community workshop in February. And for the cities, case studies of cities across the US, we have 5 cities that we will talk about in the next coming sections.
Good afternoon, everybody. So today I'm going to talk about the online survey. It was conducted from February 21st to March 10th of this year, and we received over 400 responses. It was promoted via social media in Kingman Public Media, and most notably the news organization there. And it questions, 5 which were demographic, 9 public art segments, and 2 were open-ended. These are all the questions that we had. Questions covered, go back, sorry. Questions covered demographics, public art importance, preferred locations, art types and styles, funding, opinions, sustainability, and community involvement. These are the survey results. As you can see, downtown, Kingman, and the entryway and high visibility roadways, such as the new I-11 interchange and Interstate 40, were most preferred. Slide. The types of public art that were wanted most by the community were murals, sculptures, and vintage neon signage, amongst others. This is the results of the public art styles. Many people wanted historic with nature and indigenous and nature inspired following. Go ahead. The survey results for the sustainability, it highlighted community support for strategies to ensure long-term sustainability and maintenance of public art, and the residents really wanted a maintenance plan. This was the perceived importance of public art. The residents most felt that they wanted to reflect the local culture and honor history. Go ahead. Preferred public support for funding, grants, donations, sponsorships were the highest ones. And interest of involvement in art was about 80% no, but there's a sizable minority that wants to be involved. And within this group of people that wants to be involved, providing feedback is the highest of what they want to do, as well as volunteering, workshops, and even a small fraction wanting to submit art.
Okay, and the other activity we have is a dotted map where we it was held on February 22nd. This was in-person engagement event where residents had the opportunity to directly share their vision of public art in Kingman. The main activity was that mapping exercise where people will take a dot and place it on the places where they want to see more art and what kind of art they want to see more of. Kingman was divided to 4 zones. There's 4 zones: downtown Kingman, Hilltop Kingman, and then West and East Kingman as for 3 and 4. Zone 1, you see downtown here. See a lot of comments. They want to see more sculptures. They want to see more murals along Andy Divine Avenue and Bill Street. At Hilltop, they want to see more art along the I-40 and Stockton Hill and Harrison Street. Here on Zone 3, they also want to see more on the entrance and exits of I-40. They want to see more signage. They want to see introductory, to introduce the city art and history. And here in Zone 4, there's not much of art there, but they want to see more trails and amphitheater, sorry. And this is the second activity.
I would also like to say that this was done during the theater opening, so we did get a lot of audience from that opening as well. So the second activity that residents and participants in the workshop were asked to do was to write the first word that came to their mind on 3 different prompts. We wanted to see how people are connected to the city in this activity. So the first prompt was Kingman is special to me because. The second was Kingman makes me feel, and the third one is art in Kingman makes me feel. I think around 50 people did these activities, and for this word cloud activity, we did. Can you change the slide, please? We submitted our results in these kind of in word clouds, where you can see that people find Kingman special because of the community or it's home to them. They grew up there. There were also people who were really interested in the historical aspect of Kingman, and they felt that that makes Kingman special to them, especially Route 66. For the second part, Kingman makes me feel a lot of people were really hopeful about the future. They felt happy when they thought about Kingman, or excited and interested. And then art in Kingman was really interesting because a lot of people said that it feels like they're inspired by that art, and art is what makes it home, what makes the city home for them. It makes them feel that there's a future to the city in terms of it becoming better and prosperous.
So, excuse me, we analyzed 15 communities that were established peer communities, and 5 were selected with relatively similar demographics to Kingman, which were Peoria, Arizona, Flagstaff, Arizona, Albuquerque, Grand Junction, and Asheville. We picked Flagstaff because they had mural sculptures, community driven, and it was funded by the city and grants and aligns with the 66 identity. Albuquerque, it has large scale art, 1% for art ordinance, and reflects indigenous and Hispanic culture. Grand Junction has rotating sculptures, again, the 1% for art, along with business partnerships and sustainable places for temporary and permanent art. Peoria has many installations, 1% art program as well, community engagement and effective integration. In Asheville, North Carolina, enhances city community and identity, has a city managed program, and it emphasizes cultural and heritage community involvement.
So looking at these data that we collected through public engagement, public opinion, and the peer community analysis that we did, we have made a framework, or what our advisors have told us, that like it's like the menu of choices for the future of public arts in Kingman. And we have divided them into 3 themes: future in policy, funding, and implementation. And it's not like that these are like separate themes that don't talk to each other. In fact, all of the policies or recommendations that we provide, both short-term and long-term, are interrelated. Next slide, please. So in terms of opportunity, we looked at documentations in Kingman and their general plan and economic development plan, and we realized that they don't have public arts integrated yet. Some cities that have established public arts program, like in California or even Arizona, do make it a point to integrate their public arts into their plan. So we are calling this art master planning. What it does is that it establishes that Kingman prioritizes public arts for the future. And regardless of administration changes, this priority will be set. So we do recommend that Kingman integrates the public art policies for the short term in their economic development strategic plan, and in the long term they can update their general plan to integrate this. Our second recommendation is to provide zoning. No, I'm still on that slide. Sorry. Is to provide zoning for the public arts. Some cities in Arizona have done this, and what this does is there are multiple things that can be done in here. For example, we can have set art zones and art districts that are beyond the downtown, because downtown is already a popular one. It is seen as an art district in Kingman, but we can go beyond that as well. There are some cities that provide automatic permits for specific buildings, for example, buildings that are buildings that have a set number of population. You can also expedite some kind of permits for installations, have a separation between permanent and temporary arts in zoning. What zoning can also do is to help out with the funding processes that I will talk about later. Another recommendation that we have is to have an art advisory committee or an arts advisory board. with 7 to 9 people that overlooks all this bureaucratic procedures, that overlooks all the processes and liaisoning between city and the people. Next slide, please. Our next ideas were related to opportunity and funding. As we saw with the survey and the activities that we did, also the case studies, there are multiple avenues to fund public arts, and populations like some of them, they also dislike some of them. Through the surveys, we have realized that collaboration with local businesses and residents and crowdfunding can be a good option for Kingman to look towards. It is funding for public arts is always a difficult conversation. So the Arts Advisory Board is something that can work towards it. One more aspect of funding for public art is the present for art programs that a lot of our cities, the cities in our case studies have done. What they do is that they fix 1% of their development fees for funding public art. What this does is that provides you a sort of a stable line of money for funding arts. Again, zoning ordinances have also tried to do that. They have some cities have put in their zoning ordinance that some sort of developments will have their fees going towards public arts. Next slide, please. Lastly, we have public opportunity and implementation of public arts. This comes mostly through the public engagement workshop that we did. A lot of people found that Kingman is home to them, and in our conversation, we found out that it is because of the nature that it has. Also, like the nature it provides, the mountains. People really loved hiking. At least the people we spoke to. So trail art could be an opportunity to enhance that experience of residents in Kingman. Secondly, there needs to be a system of maintenance of current and future arts, which can again be done by the Public Advisory Board, which needs to inspect and provide an inventory of the current art. We also have ideas on how to, enhance the already derelict art or how to maintain them. So the public art commission or the public art advisory board can decide on which art to keep, which art to now let go. For example, Kingman does have some signage which are part of the history but now are not used anymore, so they can be revamped to make into art.
So to wrap up, we know that public art is important to Kingman residents, not just for beautification, but for building identity and community pride. There is a clear enthusiasm for murals, sculptures, and creative spaces, especially areas like downtown and along key streets. Ideas like art trails, amphitheaters, and themes emerge repeatedly. Number of residents expressed interest in participating more directly in the public art process. With thoughtful planning and implementation, backed by supportive policies, funding, and strategic and community involvement, Kingman has the opportunity to create a thriving and enduring public art program. Well, thank you again for your time and attention. It was truly a pleasure to work with the city of Kingman. And now to hear your questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? I think this presentation looks great. I'm looking forward to, you're going to give this presentation to City Council as well on the first meeting in May?
Correct, May 6th.
All right, I'm looking forward to that and kind of getting that finalized report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would also like to get a copy of the presentation.
We can definitely provide that to all the commissioners.
Awesome, thanks. We are going to move to item 2B. Guest speaker, Leah Stagg, Executive Director of the Mojave County Historical Society. Leah Stagg, Executive Director of the Mojave County Historical Society, will give an update to the Commission on the Historical Society. This is informational. Hi, Leah.
Hello, Commissioners. Okay, Josh, I don't want to destroy anything here. Josh can fix all of it. Thanks, Josh. Historians are not known for our tech savvy, but we can tell you the history of tech savvy. Right. Slideshow, right? Back to Zoom to share it. Oh. So we do this one or this one? That one. That one? That one? Okay. Oh, perfect. Did it work? Perfect. Okay. All right. Slideshow. What did I do? I did it something.
Escape out. Back to Zoom. And select that one.
Oh. Hit share.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Now we're gonna do this. Okay. Okay. So, I am Leah Stagg, the Executive Director of the Mojave County Historical Society. I've been in this position for about a year, and prior to this, I was the curator for the Historical Society. So just as a little bit to make you aware of the role of museums and cultural heritage in the state of Arizona. Now, this particular study was done in 2017, which was pre-COVID. So there's a few changes that are made, but a lot of this is still true. So you can see, and I won't go through every single one of these, but this is true even in the northern part of Arizona, that there's a substantial economic impact that museums and cultural heritage sites have on the state. While a lot of us are nonprofits that depend a great deal on volunteers, we do create quite a bit of jobs. And the other thing is we create opportunities for students to be able to gain experience and to take that and use that in college. So it's sort of a long-term effect on some of these jobs. And the one thing that is great about museums, and this is true in this area as well, regardless of one's political affiliation, the vast majority of the public sees the importance of cultural heritage and history and promoting it. Now, in terms of our organization, the Historical Society started in 1961. It's been known under a couple of different names, but it is the same entity. The first museum was opened in 1968. So the Mojave Museum of History and Arts is our first location. At this point, we have 4 museums, the Mojave Museum of History and Arts, and then we contract with the city to manage the Route 66 Museum, the Benelli House. We also have the historic Mojave County Jail. We released that from the county, and our big goal is to be able to restore that building and open that up as a museum. But because the lease is in place, we do count that as one of our locations. The other thing we have that a lot of people don't realize is that we have a substantial archives and a research library. We have over 18,000 photographs, 10,000 maps. We have thousands of primary documents. And one of the most amazing things about our archives, and this is something that always well, it never ceases to amaze me, is that we are the repository, the sole repository for multiple historical events and people. And that is rather amazing. I talk to people in the southern part of the state regularly. The Museum Association of Arizona regularly reminds me that our research facility is the only one of its kind in this part of the state. And so we are doing our best to try and get things digitized, doing our best to find new ways to share things. We, at all of our locations, for our last fiscal year, we had over 75,000 visitors. Now, we have a new mission statement, and this is where I think that we just barely adopted, and this is where I think I especially want to share this part with you. The mission of the Mojave County Historical Society, through its collections, public programs, museums, and preservation activities, is to develop a thorough understanding and purposeful awareness of the rich history, heritage, and culture of Kingman and Mojave County in order to support scholarly research and help advance the region's economic growth and quality of life. That was one of the additions to this particular mission statement. Because we recognize that as cultural heritage sites, we have a role to play in the economic development of the community. This is an area rich in history. People come for the history, and that we recognize we need to play an active role in that and to work with the community to promote that. Oftentimes, museums tend to act in isolation, and the assumption is, well, we're a museum and nobody's going to say it's a bad museum. But we recognize, as with our new mission statement and moving forward, that we have to play an active role, and we want to draw people in because of what we have, not because it's raining outside. We have a couple things going on. This has been a busy time for us. We're using, as the director, I'm using the centennial as a good excuse for that ticking clock. And at the Route 66 Museum, we are doing an entire renovation of the facility. We were given a substantial grant by the Historic Route 66 Association of Arizona, and we finished our first phase of that and are starting the second phase of it. The entire museum is being renovated. We're updating exhibits. I like to say that we're completing our history. So there are pieces of the history that have been missing, whether it's underrepresented groups or individual stories that have developed in the last 50 years that are not in the history. And so we want to tell the complete history of Route 66, starting with the indigenous trade route and moving forward. We are incorporating a lot of interactive exhibits. We want to make this a fun thing so that if you bring your kids, whether you're a local or whether you're a tourist, you're not going to have to find an excuse to keep them busy because there's going to be lots of things that they can touch. My biggest concern when I started in this position was we have too many signs that say do not touch. People can connect with history if they can touch it, if they can have some kind of a personal experience with it. And so that's one of the things we take very seriously in all of our projects, is that we want there to be some kind of an interaction where people can see this, have this moment, and see themselves reflected back in the history. At the Mojave Museum, we are almost done with our new education corner. That one is a pet project that we've been holding on to for a couple years, and we were excited to get a donation from one of our members to put in that education corner so that we will have a space to do our clubs, to have school groups come in specifically. We have a list of clubs that we'd like to start, a junior curators club. We'd like to continue with our Lego club. We just didn't have the space to do it, and so now we do. We're almost done with this. We are also got a donation to redo our outside exhibits, so we're renovating those as well. Again, they'll be more interactive, more hands-on, and the goal in all of these is that all of our locations complement each other, so you have to go to all of them in order to get the full story. We're also, as a part of the America 250 celebration that coincides with the Route 66 Centennial, we are doing a renovation of our presidential portrait exhibit so that we're incorporating and overlaying this idea of Arizona, Kingman, Mojave County, and U.S. history so that we can create context. I find when I get school groups and adults coming in, and in my own studies with history, if you don't create context, if you create the image that history exists in isolation, people don't remember it, they lose track of it. But if you can create context, if you can create a reason to say, oh, if this was going on here, well, this was going on here, and now I understand, they're not going to forget it, and you start to make your own connections. The other thing with the Benelli House as we move into the Centennial is we are putting together a living history program so that we can use that historic home as it should be used. Historic homes are one of those rare moments in cultural heritage sites where people literally walk into the past. And, you know, that floor has to creak just right, and suddenly you don't know what century you're in. And we want to take advantage of that moment and be able to have people feel like they've been transported in a way that standard museums can't. Now, the other thing with the historic jail is we'd like to use this all as an opportunity to begin the preservation process, to at least be able to get it to a point where we can give tours of the cells. If you've never been upstairs to the cells, it's pretty awesome. And so most people have never actually seen that building, and we're doing everything we can to try and get it open so we can at least start with tours and get people in the door. Now, just in terms of museums in the community, just to finish it off for you, we run museums and cultural heritage. Our historical society is a twofold. Yes, it's a business, but it's also a public service. And so we're always finding that balance, and it's having to revisit that balance. Along with that, because this is with Route 66, it's just such a large tourism area, we also have to find that balance between reaching out to locals and reaching out to tourists. Now, sometimes those overlap, but we find that a lot of times they don't. We have to create an experience that I don't want to say is separate for both, but that offers something to both. Our locals are looking for something different, especially our, and that's where we go into our education program. We found that through the education program, we are able to reach locals in a new way, bring in the teachers, get people through the door. If you can find an excuse to put their kids' stuff up, then you're going to get the whole family in there, and they're going to come in 10 times. Tourists, we may only see once or twice, but the goal is that they're going to talk about what they've seen. We want there to be an impact in their initial experience. And so it does make it difficult at times, but it makes it really exciting to put together an exhibit project, because you have to be thinking in all these pieces. You're reaching the person that's going to run through your museum in 5 minutes, but you also need to reach that person who's going to read every single thing and then check your sources. Now, as part of this and our new mission statement and the changes that we're making, we're working to make some new and reestablish old civic and economic relationships. Again, we do not want to exist in isolation. A lot of people go, oh, I've never been to the museum. It's been 10 years. A lot of people don't realize that the Historical Society oversees as many museums as we do. And so we're trying to really reach out and reestablish that and say specifically, hey, this is our strategic plan. This is what we'd like to, your help with. What can we help you with? We worked on helping the courthouse with an exhibit for their atrium. We'd like to look for more opportunities to do satellite exhibits like that so that our reach is getting out. We have a substantial amount of artifacts and archival material that we know are never going to see the light of day. I just don't have the space. I wish I did. But we know that there are other buildings and there's other facilities who would welcome the opportunity to put up a mini exhibit, who would welcome us to come in to do some kind of a presentation. And so we are reaching out to try and make those new relationships. In terms of funding and resources, as a 501c3, we have the option of certain grants, but the reality is we need the community's help, the community's involvement, because we cannot always depend on grants and we cannot always depend on how they're funded. A lot of grants are cost share, so we have to show how we've made up the second half of that. But the other thing we find is that if the community helps in some way to sponsor, to donate in some way to an exhibit or a renovation or a club or a project, they take personal pride in that. We're more likely to see them come down. We're more likely to see them involved. Everybody is very comfortable saying that they love the history of Kingman. And I love that presentation because I was able to see that that's what we're seeing as well, that people love the history. But the next step of that is, as cultural heritage, we need to keep history going and keep it alive. And we don't want people to operate under the assumption that people already know their history, because I will tell you that interpretation and connection changes with different generations, and we always have to revisit it. So we're always needing help, whether it's donations, whether it's volunteer hours. Please reach out to us, and if you have any ideas, I love it when people call and say, oh my gosh, I have this really cool idea, or hey, my grandma had this picture and I don't know what to do with it. Well, I am more than happy to help you figure out what you need to do with that picture. We're really excited about things moving forward. We're excited about having a stronger voice in what's going on and playing a bigger role in the community moving forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
One question, could you expand a little more on, you're talking about the old courthouse, which seems available as another historical element.
So the county jail.
No, I'm talking the old courthouse, not just the county. The county jail is already on your list,
Yeah.
and that's a great, I mean, here we're talking about a jail that's, how many are actually available in Arizona?
That's the wonderful thing, yes.
So, but I'm talking about the courthouse itself with its atrium and.
Oh, I see what you're
such.
saying. So as far as we know, the county is we wouldn't be taking that over because they're going to be using it as an active building. We just help them with an active courthouse. In fact, we have benefited quite a bit from the different people they've had over there looking at doing work. Everybody, that jail catches people's eye, and so we've been able to generate some conversations. But they're going to actively use that building, though. I will say that is one of the things that we are looking at, would like to expand, is once we've, cut our teeth on the historic jail, being able to bring in and take over other properties to see them protected and preserved. So, yeah, as part of that courthouse, though, we are anxious and excited to be able to help the county in any way that we can in terms of photographs, putting together any kind of exhibits that would be permanent in there, because we are watching very closely to make sure that they have everything they need to present the history of the building. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, you definitely have a place at the table here with us for economic development. We've seen the benefit when you talk about working with different businesses. Business I work at, we have a bunch of the prints from the Mojave County Historical Society in all of our rooms, and that just enhances the guest's experience. And so I think there are a lot of different opportunities for you guys to partner with businesses in the community to have an impact on that. So I wanted to also ask, do you guys have any traveling exhibits?
We do not at this point. We don't have any traveling exhibits, though I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's one of the things that once we've been able to establish some of these things and get some of these projects moving forward, we would love the idea, because one of our museums covers the whole of Route 66 in Arizona. We have looked at the idea of a progressive exhibit, and we would love to be able to come up with something so that it moves with the tourists, or gives options of being able to reach out to different communities that may visit Kingman to be able to say, hey, did you know we have this, and things like that. So that is something on the horizon, hopefully.
That would be really cool. And then you said you're leasing the jail from the county, so that isn't a building owned by you, it's just a long-term lease?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It is. They're very generous on that. It does automatically renew, and but they do still
They
have the
retain
property.
ownership?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, we are going to move to item 3, call to the public, comments from the public. Those wishing to address the commission should fill out request forms in advance. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The commission may not respond to speakers during the call to the public. The commission may direct the staff to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. Lisa, do we have any call to the public?
No, I did not receive any.
Perfect. Thank you. We're going to move to item 4, action items. 4A, Tourism Initiative Grant Application. Staff will share information about the Tourism Initiative's grant application with the Commission, which can help Kingman-based nonprofit organizations support building repairs and structural upgrades that foster tourism and economic development activity.
Chair Geesh, Commissioners. So at a previous meeting, we brought up the concept of doing some sort of funding for tourism type initiatives with nonprofit groups. So we had the facade improvement program, the murals program. Sylvia had drafted those, so she took those grants. We brought in some of the concepts that we were wanting to do with focusing on this one, and she drafted something that we can go off of. Do you want to come up and present on this, Sylvia? Okay.
Good afternoon. So are we already a little familiar with the other incentive programs that we have? So as Josh indicated, we have the facade improvement program, which was focused on a lot of our small businesses and providing assistance in upgrading facades and aiming down the line of beautification. With those programs, there's different matching options, like our facade program was 90-10, our murals program was 90-10, but now we're kind of transitioning to a Kingman Tourism Initiative grant, which is also related to attracting tourism and beautification, but it's geared toward nonprofit organizations, and the dollar amount is a little different. In this case, they can request up to $30,000. Is that right, Josh? Yep, that's right.
Yes.
Up to $30,000. For upgrading their facade. There has to be a historic alignment, right? To upgrade like the building to whether it's historic or the facade, signage. There's a lot of things that are similar, but the difference is the amount, the goals of it being a nonprofit organization. The match is 50-50 in this case. Very similar process where first come, first serve with the application process once we get through this program. But a couple things, I'll just go through this a little bit. Eligible projects would be improvements to buildings or facilities that contribute to tourism-related events, exhibits, and community programs, including historical and cultural sites. Enhancements to visitor accessibility, like ADA compliance, entryways, public access features. Outdoor site improvements such as signage, lighting, visitor engagement features, and wayfinding and informational signage. Those are some good things that you could apply for. The following types of improvements are eligible, like that are related to historic preservation, includes some facade, roof repairs, structural repairs. We also have the ADA upgrades that I mentioned. Outdoor site improvements, which could be public seating, benches, outdoor lighting. Infrastructure for tourism-related events and attractions, such as a new stage, maybe, or public art installation. And so these are just a couple things that could be eligible in this program, along with, I mean, this is a citywide program. It's not just downtown, so any nonprofit citywide could apply for it. And then depending where you're at, if, say, you're in the infill incentive, then it's kind of, it would be a double effect that you could apply for this grant, and then if your building happens to be in the infill incentive district, you may get some building permit fee waive for some of the things that require building permits. So it's a really, we're in the draft process at this point, and I think this is the first time we're presenting it. Is this correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're the first to hear about this, and basically just like some feedback. Right now, it's informational. And is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Josh?
So the only two things I'd add is that this would be coming from the tourism fund, because it's tourism-specific projects. And if this is something that this commission is in agreement with and council, then we would launch this in July of this year with the new budget.
Is this specific to nonprofit, or is it expanded to profit as well?
This one is specific to
Specific-
nonprofit
specific.
organizations.
Follow-up question, why?
Yes. Why? Why did we go with that, Josh? That's probably your background a little more than mine.
So the facade improvement programs, the other programs that we're running are open to businesses and anybody, but those are really specific to, beautification in our commercial areas. This one is with the acknowledgement that we had a lot of nonprofits that are trying to increase their functionality, maybe open up operations to cater to tourists. And so we're trying to make these funds available to specifically assist with the nonprofits that have those goals.
So are nonprofits not able to participate in those other grants?
They can participate. It's specific to what groups in a certain district or certain area.
Right.
Okay.
So the facade improvement program is citywide right now, the existing one. The amount you can get is lower, though. The funding is lower. So a lot of times with the projects that some of the nonprofits would like to do, they're larger than some of the small business ones, just typically over, just from seeing the various applications. So right now, it does have it where nonprofits could apply, but, that may transition. We review our programs all the time for the, that we have. So it's possible.
And there's some overlap in the projects they
Right.
can do with that one versus this one, but this is more expansive to, event-related or tourism-related functions, ADA compliance, promotional or performance venues, that sort of thing. So this covers more areas than the facade improvement grant. And the facade improvement grant has been really successful.
Yep.
So we didn't want to supplement or change out. This is really geared to a different group of organizations than the other one.
Yeah, and with facade, facade is usually just what can you approve from, the part of the building that can be seen from the street, like a front. So that, it's kind of limited in that way also. This one will be a little more expansive, like Josh said.
You mentioned that this is a 50-50 matching, so I assume that you have some way of assuring that the other 50% from the nonprofit has been received or something like that.
Yeah, as part of the application process, that would be information we'd be requesting of how you anticipate to cover the rest of the balance if this was granted or awarded.
Not just anticipate, but actually receive?
It is a reimbursement grant.
Yep,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to move to item 5, reports. The Kingman feasibility study, staff will update the commission on the status of the feasibility study being conducted to explore a sporting event and recreational facility. This is also informational.
So these are some notes that our economic development manager, Terry Curtis, provided for me. So I'm going to just give you this because she is off at a trade show today. So economic development was awarded a rural business development grant from the USDA, funding 2 key projects. One is the market feasibility study for an event center, and that's what I'll go through now. And then the next one is our next topic is the update to economic development strategic plan. So the feasibility study was released for bid in August last year. Convention Sports and Leisure, or CSL International, was selected and approved by council in October. We did have a delay when there was that transition between the U.S. administrations where the release of grant funds was on hold, but now that that is released and we have approval to move forward. So stakeholders and interview meetings were held last week. We had 46 individuals participating in person or virtually across 9 sessions. The consultants were then taken on a community tour to view available land, existing facilities, and other key community amenities. A strong consensus emerged around the need for a large multi-generational recreational facility to serve Kingman's growing population and community needs. CSL will evaluate a variety of options, analyze community needs, and provide cost estimates for each option, including associated maintenance costs. They noted that the most recreational facilities do operate at a deficit, so potentially incurring up to $1 million annually in operating costs, depending on what amenities they provide. So they're encouraging stakeholders to be open to the concept of incorporating a sports tournament component. While only utilizing about 15 days per year, they can significantly offset expenses and enhance the facility sustainability. Next steps are going to provide a detailed analysis and comparison of existing facilities within the broader region, evaluate emerging national trends and traditional sports and recreational activities that have been popular and continue to have strong community participation. They're going to assess which options would best align with Kingman's character, our existing interests, and future growth opportunities. And then they will launch a project website to collect broader community input through surveys and conduct approximately 80 to 100 citizen interviews to get more input. Then they'll provide a comparative operational statistics from peer communities similar in size to Kingman, and the final report is expected to be completed within approximately 3 months. Any questions?
Specifically, what programs are we looking at for recreation facilities? Have you zeroed in on anything, or are you just wide open on?
So at this point, they had 9 different sessions where they had about 46 people that gave their different inputs and what they'd like to see. They're going to take that back and then analyze all of the feedback that they got, and then continue to have more interviews with citizens to identify that, and whether that's, like a recreation center, a sports complex, a meeting space, an aquatic center. There's a lot of different things that we're looking at and trying to identify the best fit for Kingman.
I assume that the market study portion of this is also going to include what's currently available.
Yes. Yeah, so they are looking at the existing facilities that we have in Kingman that meet some of these needs that we have now, and they're also going to be looking at those in Mojave County and other regional areas, so that we are looking at having something where we might host tournaments or small conventions or something. What competitors do we have within our immediate area, and what's the feasibility of us having those activities here?
Sounds good. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
I think you're up for the next one, which is the new Economic Development Strategies Plan. Staff will update the commission on the status of the new Economic Development Strategies Plan.
Yes, so from time to time, the strategic plan needs to be updated, and we've worked with this group to make revisions to the plan that we have currently on hand. But with as many things as we've had take place in the last few years, it's really time to just redo a whole full assessment. So the request for proposals was released in January of this year. We received 12 responses. City Council approved Chapin Concepts in April, just earlier this month. They are also the same group that produced our current economic development plan in 2019. So the team met with Chapin Concepts a few weeks ago to initiate the project, review the documents and what information was needed. And so we are gathering that now. The project's estimated to be completed by the end of July this year, with stakeholder meetings scheduled as part of the process. So you guys will have an opportunity to participate, as well as stakeholders within the community. The scope of work is organized into 4 phases. We're going to have a research and assessment, which includes economic-based review, GIS, real estate mapping, workforce evaluation, and a review of the 2019 strategic plan. Then community engagement and analysis, gathering input through public and business surveys, stakeholder meetings, and conduct a SWOT analysis. Then we'll have the third component, strategy development, drafting a detailed, actionable strategic plan with key initiatives, performance metrics, and implementation tools. And then as the final element, finalization of an updated strategic plan that's incorporating feedback from city staff, stakeholders, along with recommendations for ongoing evaluation and future updates.
So they plan to have a plan by July to go before city council, is that correct?
So the project's estimated to be completed by end of July. So I don't know if that is
So
where they'll
shortly
be
thereafter?
presenting it, or
Okay.
hopefully before that, they would be presenting, and we'd have feedback from council to make sure, see if any
Okay.
adjustments need to
So
be
we'd
made.
probably see it in our August meeting for economic development, is what you're thinking?
I'm sure we would rather bring it to this group before we bring it to council, so
Mm-hmm.
I would anticipate seeing it before that.
Okay,
Or at least wherever we are in the stage that we have a meeting that we can see that before
fair
it goes
enough.
to council.
Yep.
Maybe
Thank you.
make sure we see something at the June meeting.
We can definitely give an update at the June meeting. If this commission desires, we could have a special meeting too, as well, so that we can have that looked at before it goes to council.
We can, I just mentally for planning ahead here. Thank you. Ladies, anything down on the side? I feel like I'm looking left today instead of right, so if I miss you, just, yeah. All right, we're gonna move to item C.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm sure there's a copy of the 2019 economic plan that we can,
Yeah, I know Lisa, can you give to the commissioners the latest version?
is it on your website?
Okay.
All right.
Do we have the revised one that we revised a couple of years ago? Okay, we can provide that, because we have the original one, but we've made quite a few updates since it was,
Yeah, if you get the revised one from Lisa, because as they've completed things, we've marked those things, because that plan did start before we really had an economic development staff.
thank you.
Okay. We're gonna move to item C, rail car pedestrian bridge project in Lewis Kingman Park. Staff will update the commission on the rail car pedestrian bridge project to be built in Lewis Kingman Park and share the status of the project.
Yeah. So you go back to here to share it.
Hey there. One moment while I share this video or this PowerPoint. Okay. Well, can everybody see it online? Hope so. All right, so we've been working on a rail car pedestrian bridge project, and this is what we're aiming for over at Lewis Kingman Park. So this is just a design of what it could look like, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So we're working with Parks and Rec, and then our team, Economic Development, and the Finance Department on doing a pedestrian bridge, basically at Lewis Kingman Park, that'll help connect some of the amenities like the future Economic Development, Mojave County Work Share Building we're working on, provide an accessible ADA path to the park from the parking area, reduce sidewalk usage
Pardon me,
on Andy
Sylvia?
Devine. Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
It's not forwarding when, to the next slides via
Oh.
Zoom, so you may not want to share via Zoom.
So stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just go to the slide. Just do it that way. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so there we are. Okay, I think I'm on the right slide now. Is it working correctly? Thanks.
Let me go back. I think we just need to not play it in this way. There we go. Okay. Are we still in the Zoom? Lisa? Okay. Okay.
don't remember where I'm at now. No, that's okay. Okay, so I believe I was talking about reduced sidewalk usage on Andy Devine, enhanced tourism with some photo opportunities, and also in getting ready for our celebration of Route 66 Centennial in 2026. Here's an example from the City of Williams rail car bridge that we're aiming for, something similar. And here's another view of different angles where people are taking photo ops and kind of taking a nice walk through the bridge. Here's the aerial of Lewis Kingman Park and the area that we're looking at doing this improvement at, right here. And somewhere around here, that's where the future Work Share Force building should be, correct? So that would be also great addition. Here's a closer view of the area where we plan to put the rail car bridge. And yet another angle showing it's very similar like the Williams. We have a little wash that will cross over. Then we get people off of this street. We do have the rail car already. It's sitting over at Southside Park. So it's just a matter of moving it later. And so this is where we've done so far for the pre-planning stage of this process. So we did talk to the City of Williams early on to see what they did to get where they were at to have their rail car bridge and maybe some of the benefits, how people love it, you know, taking photo ops. We also talked to BNSF since we figured they're experts in rail cars. We wanted to talk to them a little bit about it and get some input from them. And then we're working with City Parks. Once we got some of the initial discussions going, we're like, okay, now we need to figure out how much money we need. So in order to do this, it's like, well, wait, let's get some quotes. We need to get some quotes on initial design, civil plans, engineered plans, and then in time, we'll get construction quotes once we get these initial quotes in on construction. So we did get some quotes back. Estimated pre-construction total is almost $14,000. Design and civil plans, about $10,000, and structural, $3,500. And then the construction's cost will be determined at a later date. With that being said, we're applying for a historic Route 66 cost share grant to assist with obtaining the pre-construction costs. It is a matching grant, and so we will be matching that if we're awarded this grant, and then with our city budget money. So that's the stage we're at right now. Once approved, then we could move on to getting construction quotes, because then we know what we need to build, right? And so then we would be applying for the Arizona Community Foundation Route 66 grant and another T-Mobile Hometown grant. Both of them award up to $50,000 for shovel-ready projects. So that's where we're trying to be to get those grants. And then also budgeting for anything that may not be covered through these grants. So our next steps at this point is, as we're going through the grant process, you know, first we need to see if our grant is approved, and then once we do, we can proceed with the civil plans and structural plans, and then start soliciting for construction quotes. At that point, we'll get detailed estimates and quotes, so then we can pursue the next grants, T-Mobile, Route 66, and any other that we may find, and also build a little contingency budget for maybe unanticipated costs or things that weren't quite covered. But really, that's where we're at now. We're actually really excited about this project. It's been very unique and outside of the box for me compared to some of the other projects we've worked on. But if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
I'm going to ask a question first here.
Yes.
So the pre-construction cost, is that already built into our fiscal year 2025 budget? Or where are those monies coming from?
So yeah, we are going to try to get this done before the next fiscal cycle. So I would say half yes, right?
Parks and tourism will be splitting that, and we've got funds in our existing budget to meet the half. So each of us would
you have
basically have a
unallocated funds that are available
Yes.
for that.
Yep.
So the railroad car, did the city have to buy that, or was it donated by the railroad company?
Again, this is probably a Josh. He has the history on most things.
So that rail cars belonged to City Parks for years.
Okay.
For many, many years, the Little League department used it, or Little League nonprofit group used it for storage. They've since used a different storage facility that they have easier access to. So it's basically just sitting there looking pretty.
Okay, thanks.
No, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, last report but not least, the Multi-Unit Franchising Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. Staff will share with the commission an update on the Multi-Unit Franchising March Conference and how well it went. This is informational.
So when you just, if it's open, just move over to it. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm having fun today.
At least you didn't kick us out.
No.
I've done that before. Okay.
Thank goodness for that kind of assistance, right? All right, so I did just recently attend a multi-unit franchising conference in Las Vegas last month, and so I'm going to provide you a little update on it and kind of why we go, what we do when I go to this event. But really, it's a conference where there's over 300 franchise brands there, many franchisees trying to expand either their current company profile or maybe add locations to their current brand. And so it's a good place for the city and such as, you know, in my role to meet with these people and market Kingman, talk to them about what we have, our demographics, encourage them to come and see our town. And so I went last month, and then I'm going to show you just a little bit of what I do here. So we want a lot of companies here, and I'll get more into that later, but a lot of people may not know the difference between a franchise and a company or a corporate-owned company. So I just grabbed this slide that I had from one of our Citizens Academy, and these are just some of the companies that have come to our town since 2019. But here, just to give you an example, Dutch Brothers, Take 5, Filiberto's, Human Bean, Culver's, Black Bear, those are all franchises. So when people say, I want an Olive Garden, Texas Row House, Red Robin, a lot of those are franchises and not corporate-owned, where, say, Harbor Freight, Ashley Outlet, and Cal Ranch, the corporate can decide, you know, like, we're just coming. You don't need a franchise owner to expand to our area. So that's why we're attending these franchise conferences, so I can connect it with the franchisees in our areas and the companies who are signing up franchisees. And so when they're signing up these companies, say, hey, can you please include Kingman into your Phoenix area or Vegas area? We're not too far, you know. And so we're having these great discussions there. Here's a sample of just a glimpse of franchise brands. There's actually all kinds out there, but these are just some of them that we hear many times that we'd like in our town, and some we do have here. And some are coming. This is the conference I attended, also with just a little snapshot of some of the companies I talked to. I just kind of grabbed some out of the bag. There's actually quite a bit more. But in this case, when I'm getting a lot of the profiles from the various companies, I can see what demographics they're looking for, what locations, income levels, who they're seeking as franchisees. Do they have one? Do they not? So there's a lot going on with this conference. So it's very meaningful. The difference with this one also is that we're able to connect with our regional reps versus national. So I'm able to connect with those that are signing up people for this area, which is great. And here's a little video of conference. Just kind of showing you what it's like. It's usually held up at the Caesars Forum Convention Center. There's like a lot of the companies there, and it's also good to just sit with them and talk to them. A lot of the brands when you're walking through. I happened to be able to get this before the people were in there, so just kind of grab their booths. Somebody likes golf, right? Mr. Pickles is always fun. They have a lot of fun things they offer. And Applebee's. But really, when you're there, you get to see a lot of their product also as well, besides just a lot of the flyers. A lot of them put out what they actually make, so you can kind of see the different foods available from all parts of the country and which brands are expanding here and looking to come out. So that's pretty much that one. I can just stop this, I think, and move on to the next slide. I think, there we go. And so one of our franchisees, right, is our franchise is coming is El Pollo. We've seen the paint coming up now. It's looking good. The local franchisee actually got an award at this conference, so that's kind of why I wanted to highlight this. Their anticipated opening date is in May, close to Memorial Day. That's when they're aiming to open. This is our franchise owner here, and this one here is also, he's known as Jack Frost, but he got an award at this conference for having an American Dream Award. If there's any opportunity you have to maybe look him up online, I guess he has a really good story about how he basically started with nothing and now has all these franchisees, almost nationwide at this point. And so our local store owner is right here. His name is Sal, very nice young man, and he's very community oriented. So if you ever get to meet him, great person, great personality, really looks forward to being in our community and plans to move here while he's opening up the store. And I hope you have a chance to meet him. So over the past month, we actually did a retail survey in line with this conference and in preparation for another one I'm attending to see what the community wants. So all the retail survey results haven't been released yet, but I wanted to at least give you a couple that the community has responded to, which probably know already what they were going to be, but I'll show you anyway. Some of the top 3 restaurants our community would like to see is Olive Garden, Texas Roadhouse, Red Robin, and then there's a slew of more. And this is in no order either. Some of the retailers they'd like to see is Costco, Sam's Club, Hobby Lobby, we would know, right? And grocery stores, Trader Joe's, Aldi's, and Sprouts. So in this area, when I go to the franchise conference, this is where I can talk to Olive Garden, Texas Roadhouse, Red Robin, those type of businesses. And now we are planning to go to a conference, and I see somebody I know in this picture as well. Tasha was able to go with us one year. But now with those results of the surveys and from the connections at Multi-Unit Franchising Conference, there's actually a double layer. I get to bring some of this information to the companies we talked to in May at ICSC, and then some of these people, companies that were at the franchise conference are at Vegas, and I get to follow up with them and keep pursuing that relationship and asking them to come to Kingman, right? And that's really the summary of my conference. It's an annual conference. We attend yearly. Next one won't be till next March.
Thank you. I'm sure we're going to have some questions.
Okay, please.
Okay, prior to COVID, Red Robin was talking about opening and specifically a Route 66 themed franchise. Now, I know a lot of franchises have a formula for their franchisees. Has there been any discussion with some of these multi-units that maybe they should focus a Route 66 brand in their franchise?
Yeah, many times we actually get asked, and of course they have their own approved layouts too. But yeah, we do talk to them. I even remember, and Cow Ranch wasn't even franchised owned, but they were very interested in the stores when they locate to put in maybe images of the area more so than just national, So we do talk with them. Ultimately, what they do on their own is but we can always say that we would like that in addition to their store if possible.
Can you share with us the franchise companies that had a strong interest in coming here?
There's actually a lot. I mean, El Pollo Loco is the easy one because it's out there. But there are some other ones we have mentioned, and there's nothing better than going to a conference and talking to a rep and saying, we just approved a location for your town. If you could see the excitement I have when I hear that news and able to bring it back to our community, it's great. There's a couple other that I think we put on our weekly already, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to kind of be borderline with that, Ben. So what I could say is usually what I've already put out there, but otherwise we're always working behind the scenes with some of these companies. I do have a lot of follow-ups with them as well, and if discussions progress further and we get further, we'd love to share them at some point.
I don't know if you can speak to this, but I'll ask you anyway, and you
Okay.
can tell me. But I had heard rumors that Hobby Lobby was looking at the 99-cent location. I don't know if you can share anything, any knowledge
You
about
know,
that?
I don't have that information in front of me today, but I always love to follow up with those type of informational requests. And, you know, as soon as we can announce, we'd love to. We love to. Until that point, we just have to kind of work with the companies and the companies coming in the best that we can. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just need to stop sharing this now.
All right, we are
There we go.
to the end here. We're going to do announcements by commission members, limited to announcements, board and commission liaison reports, availability attendance at conferences and seminars. So we'll go ahead and do announcements first, and then we'll do requests for future reports and updates after that. No announcements? No announcements. So Fun Run is coming up, so that is next weekend. It is May 3rd as the car show, so it's 2nd in Seligman, 3rd in Kingman, 4th in Topak. So definitely want to invite people to come out and participate in that. We'll be having a sock hop at the Best Western on Saturday, so you are welcome to come and enjoy. We're taking donations for Arizona Youth Partnership. Tosh. All right, how about requests for future reports? Mr. Leparn? No? Okay, I actually would really like to see a report on some of the commercial side with the infill. I know we've talked about that a little bit, but to see how many units are out there for commercial infill for like the franchising and see kind of where that's going with Retail Coach. Thank you. We are adjourned.